Welcome back to another episode of Pod Snapping. Pod Snappery?
Pod Snapping. I like that term. I coined that term. Actually, it was
Charles Dickens.
But I co-opted it.
Oliver Twist.
May I have some more pod snaps, sir?
May I have some more?
You asked.
May I have another?
And we're giving you another. This is a pod snap. A quick pod snap that's off topic.
The Mandalorian. Specifically. Episode
3.
Episode 2 of Pod Snap. Episodes 2 and 3. Oh,
Episode 3 and 4.
3 and 4.
Not to
of
confuse
the Mandalorian.
anybody. We're not confused
Of
either.
Mando.
That's a slur. We can't use that.
We don't know that.
No.
Grief calls him that.
Mando's
but he also
too.
calls the other guy a dust breather.
But Mando's not my moral compass.
You mean Grief?
Grief. Nor is
Well,
Grief.
I mean, his name is Grief. So
Why do
can you trust a
people
man named Grief?
in the Star Wars universe
They got
have
some weird names.
Weird names.
I have heard that the Mando's name is like Din, D-Y-N, Jaren.
Dean Jaron?
Din Jaren. Almost like Jin Urso, but Din Jaren.
Like Jimmy Dean?
I saw that somewhere. Jimmy
You
Dean.
saw that somewhere.
He's making sausages.
I guarantee it. No, wait, that's
Paul Newman.
yeah, it's Paul Newman. Never mind. Sorry.
Or Men's Warehouse.
You'll like this bounty hunter.
You'll love the way you look. I
I guarantee it. Which he carbonite freezes everybody, which we forgot to talk about. Where'd he get that mini carbonite freezer?
Sears.
And like he just pushes people into it, like stand still for a moment while I turn that on.
I mean, he fooled that one rascal into it. Bluegills.
How long can you survive if you're carbonite frozen? Like if things just weren't going right, couldn't you just carbonite freeze yourself,
I mean, I
set an
would assume
alarm,
it's-
and wake up a few decades later?
I would assume so. It's got to be like that sleep.
Yeah, you just you don't like millennials, so you just freeze yourself, wait 20 years, and then wake up. Is that how it
I mean, they could probably put you in storage and you sleep for a century,
That's weird.
2 centuries.
Super weird. I don't know about that.
That's what they need to do for the next Star Wars is advance it, put people to sleep and advance it centuries.
Well, what technology going to have then? Just they already have stuff now.
Stronger force.
Stronger Force. We have Force Plus. It costs you $6.95 a month, or $60 a
With
year.
commercials, it's a little bit cheaper.
You can't get it in the EU, but if you happen to live in the continental U.S., $6.99 per month, you can choke your neighbor from 100 miles away.
So spoiler alert.
What's going on, John? Bill, return my lawnmower. Sorry, I took that way too far. I'm sorry. What is this?
So for spoiler alert for The Mandalorian, this is not for people that have not watched it.
I.e. British people.
Thus, the purpose, we're doing a completely separate podcast from our normal board game banter.
Do Troy and other Australians have this? Does Disney
You're
in
the
Australia?
one that told me that England wasn't getting
They
it.
don't get it. None for
I don't
you.
know about the rest of the
What
world.
about the Netherlands? What about the Germans? What about South Africans? We don't
I
know.
don't
Do
know.
they get it?
I don't know.
I hope they do. Because they need to. Because The Mandalorian is an uplifting father-son story.
I mean, everyone is in love with hashtag Baby Yoda.
And we're going to be devastated when we find out he is not Yoda.
What if he turns out to be like super dark?
What if his name is actually something weird that we don't like Doug?
Orenthal.
Baby Doug. It's Doug or Baby Bernie. I don't know. It's a weird name.
He has taken over internet, the Twitter.
Bernie's a cute
he
name.
is adorable. Freaking adorable.
Okay, here
I would kill to protect Baby Yoda.
here's the thing. They're just now realizing they have to merchandise this.
No. I read. I don't read nothing. I heard on a podcast.
I generally say I read. What did you read? Well, I listened to audiobooks. So technically, someone read it to me.
According to what I heard on podcasts, maybe it was Slash Film.
Okay.
I don't remember. They're very good on their reporting. Disney wanted to merchandise Baby Yoda, but Jon Favreau was like, no, I need this big reveal to be held off.
Yeah, don't be putting out Baby Yodas.
So it was held off for him.
Oh.
So like we could have had Baby Yoda merchandise by now.
Right now. Where's my Baby Yoda hat?
It'll come.
Where's my
Don't
Baby
worry.
Yoda cozy?
Your plush
My
toy.
Where's my Baby Yoda?
You're gonna get it.
I
Don't
want
worry. Bobblehead.
Bad. I want it bad.
It's adorable.
Well, and also like for instance, up until now,
and we're calling it Baby Yoda. We don't even know what it is.
the Star Wars.
Is it a he? Is it a her? Is it asexual?
It's it. What was Baby Yoda?
It's it.
It's
Get
it.
away from it.
Baby Yoda, in terms of
That's what he says in episode 2.
actual marketing and money, the Star Wars movies have made between $3 and $4 billion as of now, total. The merchandise,
Which Star Wars movies?
all of them,
They've only made 3 or 4 billion?
yes.
I mean, the last 2 made $1 billion on their own.
And the others were released in the 80s and 70s.
Okay.
So you have that. So just add another billion for inflation. So let's just say $5 billion. To date, the merchandising of just the Star Wars toys alone, $30 to $40 billion.
I have a Han Solo bobblehead sitting right over there.
Star Wars
Funko.
makes, and George Lucas knew this, he's always made it to where
Jorge.
it was towards kids because Star Wars toys sell.
Oh, yeah.
You think of Star Trek toys,
There ain't no Star Trek toys.
it's not.
No.
I remember I used to have the little Luke Picard action figure, and he had the little thing where
Jean-Luc?
Jean-Luc, we had little fingers where you could say engage.
Engage.
I love that guy.
Number one.
And the only
Make
thing
it so.
you could have the John Luke that had the uniform buttoned up, and then they had the John Luke that was kind of relaxed. We had his uniform open.
Slightly open.
It's like slightly. Oh, he's laid back.
Casual John.
Casual John.
I don't understand why his commanding officer, he called him number 1.
Because he was his number one.
But wouldn't that be number 2?
No.
Jean-Luc was number 1.
No, he was the executive officer.
But Jean-Luc, number 1.
No, he was his
The
first
man.
officer.
My man.
He was your first officer.
Okay. But
He's your
overall,
number one.
in the pyramid of who's in charge, is Jean-Luc number 1, Riker number 2.
Technically, Data was number 2. He was the second officer. He referred to him in terms of he's not referring to them as the master commander hierarchy like in the 1800s Naples.
Speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that
I'm
up.
glad I did too. I always like bringing up master and
I
commander.
was listening to a recent podcast,
Follow us on Board Game Snobs at Twitter, Instagram.
Board Game Snobs, blah, blah, blah.
But this is about board games.
They were talking about Lord Nelson
Yeah, Horatio Nelson.
from the Battle of Trafalgar.
Yes, Trafalgar. Go ahead.
Trafalgar?
Trafalgar, not Trafalgar. Go ahead. Sorry.
Not Trafalgar?
That's okay.
Gibraltar? Trafalgar.
Trafalta.
Wait,
John Travolta. John Travolta. He had the Saturday Night Fever and he died.
whoa.
Go ahead.
So,
British people are dying right now. We can make these jokes because none are listening to this because they're not watching The Mandalorian.
Lord Admiral Nelson.
Yes.
Or Admiral Lord Nelson.
Okay.
Or Nelson.
Yeah, he was high up.
Apparently, they based some of your favorite character on him.
Yes.
Because his name was literally Horatio. Horatio Nelson.
Right.
I did not know that. In fact, when I was listening to this podcast and they were talking about the Battle of Trafalgar,
Yeah.
and they were talking about Horatio Nelson, Lord Admiral
Yes.
Horatio Nelson, whatever his name is,
Yes.
battling the Spanish and the French.
I think, yeah. He basically, yeah.
And they were saying, why did they win? Because they were outnumbered.
He was all about it.
They were saying he was a freaking genius.
He was a genius.
But they were saying that the English practiced on their gunnery, their guns.
Yes.
They made sure they knew, like, I mean, because you would have to know math as to fire their guns at the proper angles and stuff.
Right.
And they said literally, like, the Spanish and the French, I think it was the Spanish and French, they were just taking people off the streets, basically, and putting them on the ships and manning the guns, and they were just, like, firing.
Right.
So the English took down all these ships, and the English lost
Very little.
none.
Yeah.
They lost not one ship. Lord Nelson died.
He got clapped. Yes, he did. Yes, that was very
And
fortunate.
I'm listening to this podcast. I'm like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Oh, wait, he died?
He got clapped.
And I was like, sad.
And
I don't even know what's going on.
He died on his ship.
This is history that doesn't relate to me.
Yes.
But this guy was like a genius.
If you go to...
And they said the way he fought, the way he's lined his ships up was in a formation never seen before. Like, they were like, oh, line up and shoot.
Yeah.
That's what everybody was used to. Kind of like the Revolution.
Yeah.
Like the British were like, all right, everybody fire, you know, and the rebels, what do they call the American rebels?
The American rebels before they were, they were insurrectionists.
Well, but they had a name.
Give me a second. It'll come to me.
All right, but anyway, so
the
like
colonists.
So like the English were like
traitors.
We're gonna fight you.
Traitors.
We're gonna fight you in a row, and we're gonna announce when we're fixing to fire our guns.
Yeah.
But the colonists were like, no, we're fighting like scoundrels. We're gonna hide, duck, and shoot, and we're gonna just shoot whenever it's appropriate. Yeah. And that's basically what Lord Admiral Nelson did with his ships.
Yeah.
And he lined up in a way that was not a normal battle formation for the time.
There was a...
And then that's what they kind of based Horatio Hornblower on him and a bunch of other people.
And there's also a lot of information on Admiral Cochrane, who was very similar to Nelson in terms of his accomplishments at sea. But one of the neatest things I saw was a piece of parchment paper. It looked like a napkin. And it was Horatio Nelson's battle plan for Trafalgar. And literally, he had like this piece of napkin, and he drew out some ships on it. Like these little black, little triangular looking things on here of how he wanted his ships lined out. And there's something very interesting to think that this guy was sitting around mapping this out on a napkin somewhere and going, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put these guys over here. We're going to
That's crazy.
And I mean, that's why I've always found that type of history fascinating, because you're dealing with things that we don't understand today. Like nobody gets on.
I don't normally listen to like history podcasts.
I know you've watched Master and Commander, right?
Oh, a long time ago.
And so
this podcast is called Preble Hall.
Preble Hall,
and like he interviews like different people, and I think that it's basically like different people that are familiar with maritime or naval or whatever you want to call like that type of history, sea history, whatever it's called.
I love the Aubrey Madawan series, of which is Lucky Jack Auburn. But you remember on Master Commander when they're shooting their cannons and like the drummer, the guy in charge, the gunner. There's a scene where they've got their cannons loaded and the ship. You know, you're on water. Of course, the boat's going up and down. It's going up and down.
Hit the decks, running boys, and spin those guns around.
Yeah. So you could imagine shooting a cannon and the actual ship is floating up and down. Well, he yells out on the uproll, like catch it when we're going to crest.
They're going to launch it.
We're going to fire. We're going to lob this sucker. This cannonball is going to go at an angle, rather than on the down roll when you're coming down. You're shooting as it's coming down to the angle. And so there was a fine art to it. So it wasn't just throw gunpowder in here and do this and shoot. That's
amazing.
It's amazing to me. Even the same, and not to get too deep onto this, but like the U-boat captains.
Into the deep.
The U-boat captains, Das Boot.
The me-boat captains?
The U-boat captains.
Me?
The German captains of the submarines. The math that they did to calculate where they would, see a ship that they wanted to hit and the spread of the torpedoes, and that was timing and math. There's a lot of math to that. It's interesting.
Interesting.
It is very interesting. Nautical warfare is different than any type of warfare.
Like I like the Johnny Horton song, "Sink the Bismarck."
Yes, and they sunk it.
Good one. They sunk it.
The
Bismarck started firing 15 miles away. We gotta sink the Bismarck, was the terror of the seas.
But the one thing they didn't have, disintegrators.
The Mandalorian.
If they had the Mandalorian, they would be able to take care of it. In the episode 3, we find the Mandalorian delivering the Baby Yoda to
that's right. Yes.
Werner Herzog.
Well, he's on the spaceship first, though. That's very key.
And that's where the baby, he's messing with.
He's adorable.
He's messing with the things on the.
He's messing with that lever or gear.
And he's like, if you don't stop this, I'm going to turn this car around.
He spins the ball off, and he's like, that's not a toy.
Put that down.
I heard that so many times from my dad.
Yeah.
That was one of my dad's favorite lines. It's not a toy. Anything I picked up to
Dad
play
sound
with.
like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Well,
Your dad's a
not a
5'2"
toy.
Chilean. He doesn't sound like Arnold.
you didn't hear him?
Anyways, by the time they have landed, this scene has already set up that Baby Yoda is cute and cuddly, and slowly the Mandalorian is becoming concerned about him. And there, when he drops him off with Werner Herzog,
The client.
he ends up giving him the chrome, the precious steel, and
The Mandalorian basically chromes himself out.
that's one thing I want to talk about. And so he goes there, does this job, he gets paid, and he leaves this little baby with this creepy old guy and this scientist with the bottle cap glasses, and like, oh yeah, take this guy. And he goes and has a suit made. It's
Yes.
like, I want this pimped out. got my chrome on. Well, that would have been a neat thing to have some Beskar steel in your teeth. That way nobody could knock out your teeth.
You could catch a bullet in your teeth from Penn and Teller.
Oh, I watched that. That was pretty amazing.
I don't understand it.
It's fake, of course. You can't catch a bullet. It's against physics.
I don't believe it, Jerry.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. You said that like you believed it. Where'd that rabbit come from? I was like, it didn't actually come from his hat. I didn't know if
They've
you...
got a rabbit producing hat. That's a genius.
What kind of sorcery is this?
They don't come from intercourse. They come from hats.
I bought a top hat. It's produced 3 rabbits since.
Poor Abraham Lincoln must have had rabbits out the wazoo.
Getting back to the Mandalorian.
Let's do it.
The fact that he was able to drop this kid off, and then he goes to get the metal mated to his fancy
But
suit.
he does ask, what are you going to do? Wait. What are you going to do with the kid?
Werner Herzog's like, that's none of your business.
You don't need to worry about it.
This is not Schindler's List.
You don't need to worry about it.
He ends up going again, having another flashback at the smelter.
I hear the sound of pounding metal.
Every time he goes to this helter smelter, every time he goes there, he ends up having a flashback. I'm thinking of my dad every time, my parents. And apparently his parents got clapped by separatist droids, which is
Yes.
shown by the battle droids, which is kind of keys into why he doesn't
Although
like
it
droids.
doesn't necessarily show them killed.
Not necessarily.
They were
but
killed off camera.
Which
So
is-
it's like, are they dead?
It's heavily
It's
insinuated.
heavily implied.
They got clapped by droids. So he's there, and this other big Mandalorian guy shows up who's like buff and is like, oh, he's just getting mad and wants to fight him. And they end up kind of having a tussle. They both pull out their shaky blades. I call them shaky blades, those vibrary blades. Where they
Yes. Whoa.
what's going on? And plus the fact that you have to stab somebody.
Well, they're like fixing to kill each other, and basically she just gets up and she's like, "That was the old way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This doesn't work though. You get pulled over. Some cops trying to write you a ticket. No, this is the way.
No, this is the way."
No,
and
sir,
they all
this-
like
no,
saying,
sir,
unison,
you're going the wrong way. You
No, this is the way.
No, this is the way.
And they all agree with her.
And they just go and settle down.
I want to know who she is.
She's the metallurgist.
I hope they
She's the
make
mentalist. She's the mentalist. I've got a dozen of these. Keep going.
And so she says, "This is the way," and then they stop fighting, and then they're best friends.
I like that she just has some platitude that she spouts that's basically a catchphrase. Just do it. That's our people always said. Just do it.
And it's got the imperial signet. Oh, she asked for a signet, and
Yeah.
he's like, "So the signet on the Mandalorian. So on their little underworld cave or whatever it's got the mythosaur.
Yeah. That's what old Boba Fett wore.
That's what Boba Fett wore. So apparently he killed one.
Well, that's what all their chiefs wore with the
myth.
mythosaur.
Oh, so he was a chief.
We don't know. I don't know.
So she's
if
like,
I don't
"What?
know, you don't know."
Your signet is." He's like, "Well, I killed a mudhorn." He's
Gonna
like,
be a mud horn.
"Like, so what do you draw? A big rhino?"
The big horn, that thing that almost smashed you. That's gonna be your signature.
He's like, "Well," and he's like, "Well, I can't take it because the enemy helped me kill it." How did you know it was an enemy? Well, it didn't know it was my enemy because it was
This
the
baby
little
Yoda used the Force. What happens if you
So then she's like, "I'm gonna give you the whistling birds or something."
kicking birds?
The
whistling-
Jandanbar.
The whistling birds.
Whistling birds,
Which are
something.
basically these heat-seeking mini needles.
Like nothing, like there's no tracking needed.
No.
They just go
They
on.
just-
they just know where to
They
go.
just go towards a who's ever hated. who's ever in the room.
They just know where to go.
Whoever get
They save him later on.
What happens if you kill something and they want that to be your signet, but it's not something? What if accidentally what happened to you? I fought this cat.
Well,
this kid. Oh, you're all scratched up. The cat shall be your signet.
I was driving my land speeder and accidentally killed a cat.
This cat shall be your land speeder.
The cat is your signet. We will call you Bubba Pet.
The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
Oh, I'm on fire. Keep it going. Keep it going. Speaking of fire, I like that he has that flamethrower thing.
But where does it come from? Where's the fuel?
I don't know. That's puzzled me.
Where's methane?
Where's that
farts?
Where's it? Where is this thing? How's it lighted?
The Mandalorian's farting up a storm and storing it in his methane chamber.
Got this methane. What happened to him? He got roasted with my methane flamethrower. I don't know.
crazy.
No, I don't know. Well, see, like Boba Fett in like one of the comic books and one of the games, he had a flamethrower, but you assumed it was
Right.
coming out of his jetpack.
Oh, sure.
And so now,
Real?
the Mandalorian doesn't have a
He
jetpack.
don't have one. I gotta get one of those.
But why doesn't he have one?
He hasn't got there
How
yet.
come everybody else has one?
Everyone else had a jetpack apparently. Okay, we haven't
Except
got
him.
there yet.
Okay, so he then goes.
So real quick.
Flashback?
He drops off Baby Yoda.
Gets the medal, gets the chrome.
Gets his metal suit, feels guilty, goes back to retrieve Baby Yoda,
Yes.
which is breaking the guild code.
Yeah, he gets in his.
This episode is called The Sin. What is the sin?
The sin-
Breaking the guild code,
yes,
you think?
Yes. Plus, yeah, he's not supposed to do that.
Okay. But I thought that, but then, okay, so he breaks the guild code, retrieves Baby Yoda from his job that he's not supposed to do. The client is gone. He kills all these stormtroopers. That stormtrooper's like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. He shouldn't mess with. Oh! And he kills all these stormtroopers like they're nothing.
Well, I like that they imply like he has this helmet that he can spy on people. He can heat.
No, it was his gun.
His gun. Yeah, he
That was
looks
the
at his
gun.
gun and he can heat sink stuff and listen in on people. And then he ends up tearing up the door knocker guy. Then he ends up going in there clapping these.
I love the way the stormtroopers like run out of the building.
Oh, they're not.
They did not bother with peripheral
You're
vision.
just kind of well, you can't see, but only right in front of you. You're kind of like in a
That
tunnel.
dude like hard turn to the right.
Look this way.
I am turning to the right.
I like that he ends up somehow. Why is it that stormtrooper armor can't even protect him against knives?
I don't know. It's
That
like,
nor
what is
fire.
the purpose?
I
What's
don't
the
know.
purpose?
Uniformity.
Literally pointless.
Uniformity. I must assume because it doesn't help
It
anybody.
is absolutely pointless. So he like clacks all these stormtroopers.
He knocks this one guy down and then
He's a
shoots
good
him while he's
fighter.
down. Shoots
Yes.
him while he's down, and then he uses
He
the
is
whistling,
merciless in fighting these Imperial
uses the
stormtroopers.
whistling bird.
Whistling birds, knocks them all out, and then he's on the run. Well, then all the fobs start going off, and here we go back again to the what triggers these fobs? Who set the fobs off?
Here's what you if you have a bounty out on somebody, you just get on the bounty app. It's like Tinder, and you reactivate it, and it starts
Reactivate.
anybody who's in a 25-mile radius.
Is it based on
There's,
DNA?
yes, there's hot singles that need bounties that are in your area, and so they look at their fob and they're like, "Aha,
My fob is off.
my fob's going on. I got to track this guy down. Swipe right if you want this contract." So, like is it like the entire bounty hunter guild decided
I
to come
don't
after
know.
him?
There's
It's
many questions.
Every dust breather there is,
Yes.
shows up,
Twi'leks.
and then they do the horse
He
chase.
get a Twi'lek bath. We didn't discuss that.
Yeah, he told him to go.
Twi'lek? Did he say
Twi'lek.
Twi'lek or Twi'lek?
Is it a Twi'lek or a Twi'lek? Maybe they're different things.
No, it's the same, but I think.
You don't know.
I didn't
One's
listen.
blue, one's green. You don't know.
Oh, that's true.
You don't know.
So there's a Twi'lek.
He encouraged him to engage in
in a massage.
in a massage and also to do drugs.
to forget.
This is a Disney movie,
Yes.
people. Get some spice. Go to Hooters.
Samto spice or something?
Yeah, you'll
It's
never
crazy.
forget. It's terrible.
To forget about Baby Yoda, but he can't forget about Baby Yoda. He goes back, gets him, retrieves him, and he starts fighting everybody. And so then he's like, kills all the stormtroopers, and now it's him against the fob carriers.
So the fob carriers. So they tell him to put the baby in the little droid cart, and he ends up quick drawing on that guy. I love that
Yes,
scene
that was
where he
good.
just bounces up and does
Like
that.
Spinarooski.
And then he
Quick
spins
spin.
in the air and
That
jumps
was
in
awesome.
there. And then the droid's like not wanting to go. He's like, drive!
I was just waiting for him to have like a metal plate on his chest, like fistful of dollars.
Yeah, like I love that.
The music is great in this episode.
Well, they told that composer to basically do Ennio Morricone, the guy who did all the good and the bad.
Ennio?
Yeah, not Enya, but Ennio, the guy who does the.
We're all
good
about Enya and Ennio.
the good and bad, the ugly music.
Yes.
They said basically
Maricone or whatever.
Yeah, do that in space.
It's good.
And it's good. I love that scene. Well, he quick draws on that guy.
That was quick.
That's awesome.
He does some spinnerooskies,
Awesome.
lands in the cart, tells the droid to drive, takes off, and then Grief shoots the
claps the
droid
droid.
and stops the cart. And everybody like starts pressing in. All these other fob carriers start pressing
And
in.
that's when people start getting disintegrated.
They start getting disintegrated with the big rifle, and then
Flamethrower.
and is getting dire. Here come the Mandalorians.
And the jetpack.
The Rocketeers.
Which apparently he doesn't have.
Rocketeer Part 2.
The Iron Man, generic Iron Man,
They come flying in, shooting, firing off
I'm
rockets.
pretty sure I saw Iron Man when I saw that. I'm sure Jon Favreau fit that in. Robert Downey
That
Jr.
one guy comes flying in, the big guy with the big Gatling
machine
gun
gun,
of lasers.
There was a lot to digest there.
And he's like, "This is the way."
This is the way.
We're like, "Okay."
They're all
What does
flying.
that mean?
They all show up flying around. How did they know what was going on?
And what does he say? We have to relocate.
We have to relocate to somewhere. He says a place.
Like the I guess their club.
We gotta get to
the
Compton.
Mando Club. We got to
go to the
relocate
Mando
now.
Club.
We're gonna have to relocate. And he's like, "Oh, it's okay. Get out of here. This is the way. This is the way."
They kill everybody. They just wipe out.
They
this
just start
town.
shooting, and Mando goes into his ship, which apparently he doesn't bother locking up or rolling up the windows.
Which the fact that last time he had it stripped clean, you think
Yes.
by now
you
he
would
would
think
have
he'd have an alarm
a
system,
low
on it at
jack or
least.
something.
And who's on there?
Grief.
Grief.
And Grief, of course, somehow thinks that he can take him out, despite being completely covered in silver.
He shoots the fog button, and Grief clearly re-aims his gun to the left.
Oh, maybe he moved.
I know. It's like he clearly like, oh, I know he was there, but let me shoot to the left of where
Just
he
in
was.
case.
And then Mando shoots him.
Do you think he purposely meant to shoot him in the
I
middle?
think so.
Think he just wanted?
I think so. He didn't want to kill Grief.
You don't think so?
Mando is a man of heart.
He shot him in the heart.
He shot him in the heart.
He shot him in the heart. I think he was shooting to kill him. I don't think
He
Mando
may
cares.
have.
I
He
don't
may
think that-
have. But he's kind of ruthless in some regards. I mean, he does disintegrate Jawas.
For no unarmed Jawas for no reason.
So he may have meant to kill him, but he did. But Grief did show him. I've got this Beskar
but
still
he's
in
not
my.
thinking that.
I mean, how good a shot is he?
I don't know.
And this is something I heard on Slash Film. They were saying, okay, this is we think Mando or Den or whatever his
Yeah,
name's
let's call
going to
him
be.
Mando.
We think he's like, oh man, he's like super skilled.
He's apparently not that skilled.
But apparently, I mean, he doesn't even have a signet yet, and a signet goes to a person that's like been in the game for a long
He's
time.
a junior Mandalorian.
He's a junior Mando.
He's not a full Mando.
So-
he's half Mando.
He's half Mando.
So he flies away and then decides. That's episode 3.
Episode 3.
He sees the guy in the other jetpack.
It's like,
and then he gives Baby Yoda the little ball off the gear
and it's
shift.
adorable, and I cry because I love Baby Yoda. I want Baby Yoda forever. And then the episode ends.
Episode 4.
Then we go to episode 4, which is basically Magnificent 7 / 7 Samurai.
That's magnificent.
I watched the Magnificent 7 before I ever knew there was a 7 Samurai because my dad was a total Western person.
Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner, Steve McQueen, and Charles Bronson, and then all them other guys. But then I watched 7 Samurai several years later, and that was an amazing movie as well.
They're all amazing.
Silent film. So then we watched this episode. I'm like, this is 7 Samurai.
It is. I like that he's like, does the whole Yoda playing with the Baby Yoda playing with the dashboard. Tell him, stop that. You know, he does the whole dad thing.
Oh, yeah.
Endears him more to the character, and then he lands, and Baby Yoda walks.
He's a toddler now.
They know how to pull on your heartstrings because he doesn't have his little crib now to just look around. Now he walks.
Is so freaking adorable.
He takes him to a bar. He takes him
taking over the
to a bar. And so why did you let this? He just completely just walks and just lets him trail behind him.
That's what kind of gets me. It's like
Almost get eaten by a cat.
he knows this guy's the little Baby Yoda is like super valuable, But like, he doesn't really watch over him like you think you would.
Why doesn't he have one of those leash like the parents have on their kids?
Exactly. He
just
needs
lets
something.
He goes and orders him some soup, and then he sees this. What's her name in the show? I can't remember her name.
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune.
AKA, what's her name in real life?
I don't know. She's the MMA fighter, and she,
Yeah.
who's awesome.
Gina Carano?
Gina.
Yes.
So sitting there, he sees her, and he knows because she's got one of those weird tattoos around her arm.
Yeah.
Anybody has a weird tattoo,
barbed wire
around those
tattoo.
barbed wire around your bicep, you know they're legit.
Or Haywire.
Haywire. Oh, you tugging at my heartstrings now. So he knows something's going on.
Never seen it.
Plus, she's got her teardrop tattoo.
Oh, that means she's been in prison.
I don't know what. No, that means she killed somebody. I don't know what. Teardrop tattoos. So he's like asking about her, and he does the whole scene with the bartender, paying the bartender to watch the kid. Then he goes out, and this time his helmet has that heat tracking thing where he can see people's footsteps.
He's the Predator.
He's this.
Basically the Predator.
He's clicking. So he goes sneaking out for her, and she, of course, is like up on the roof because that's what you do when someone's trailing you. You jump up on the roof and jump
Go
down
high.
How is it that punching him in the face does any good? Because he's wearing a helmet. They keep hitting him in the face. Anyways, they roll around. They do the whole Matrix thing where they end up on the ground pointing their guns at each other.
No, that's the
That's Matrix.
John Woo.
That's Matrix.
That's John Woo.
That's Matrix.
That's John Woo.
That's Agent Smith.
That is John Woo.
Matrix did it too.
No, John Woo did it before the Matrix.
What'd they do?
Well, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know.
You ever seen The Killer?
Yeah.
John Woo?
Was that before the Matrix? I think
you're
it's the
looking
Matrix.
foolish right now.
I think it's the Matrix.
You're looking very foolish right now.
I think it's the Matrix.
The Killer came out like in 93, 4, 5, 6.
You keep talking, and then Baby Yoda. I'll look it up.
Because he made The Killer, then he made Face Off, where they did the exact same thing. The pointing of the guns.
Okay, 89. You're right.
Thank you.
89. Okay, John
Thank
Woo.
you.
We mistakenly accredited that to the Matrix. It's actually the 19th.
Nothing. I gave it to John Woo right away.
Woo! There were doves flying in the air.
You need to watch it in slow-mo.
All right.
There has not been any slow-mo. Actually, no, there has been some weird slow-mo.
There was a weird slow-mo in episode 2 with the Mudhorn.
It was slow, and then it was like blurry.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a weird slow-mo.
I don't know. Was his knife shaking?
It was weird.
What was going on?
It was weirdly unnecessary.
Well, every once in a while, different directors. Like if you're going, like they've had a different director each time. This one was Deborah Chow. Directed the third one.
3.
This episode 4 is
Episode 4, Bryce Dallas Howard.
Yes, Ron Howard's daughter of Jurassic World fame. Anyways, so Baby Yoda shows up with a bottle of porridge. He's sitting there drinking, watching people.
Soup.
And then they team up.
Another meme. So basically, this is 7 Samurai Western Magnificent 7. They're fighting off these marauders, raiders that are coming into these people's camp on this planet.
And they're
him and Gina Carano meet each other, and they're
shrimp farmers. They're shrimp farmers. Krill.
And they meet each other, and they're like, there's not enough room on this planet for the two of us.
Because
I
this
didn't get
planet
that.
is very... Well, it's not...
It's
There's
freaking
not enough room in this town for the both of us.
Exactly. But it's a planet.
I know, but it's Western. You got to give it to it. Like there's not enough... Like there's 2 Ikeas in this town.
So then they join forces.
Yes.
Like real quick, he convinces her to join forces in protecting this village.
Because that's what you do.
And there's a main woman in the village that has become highly attracted to
she is the attractive widow. That's all.
The attractive widow becomes attracted to the apparent widower with his baby child. The child.
And then... And then he takes his helmet off to eat.
He takes up his helmet, but we don't see his face.
Because he tells everybody he doesn't take his helmet off in front of anybody.
But we know it's Pedro.
But you know it's Pedro deep down.
We know Pedro. What you look
I
like.
would have liked it if they would have kept the actor hidden. Like, you don't know who's playing the Mandalorian.
Are they ever going to show his face?
I don't know. I hope they don't. It would be great if, like, the whole.
I kind of hope they don't.
I wish they would have kept it secret who was playing the Mandalorian and then gone for like 5 or 6 seasons. And then they take the helmet off. It's like Jim Carrey or somebody weird. You know,
oh, righty then.
The whole somebody you would not have expected who's been doing voices this entire time is Mr. Bean. Didn't you realize you watched this whole series?
That would have been great.
Oh, but anyways,
but then she like tries to take it off when they're about to kiss.
Well, but that was before. No, that was at the end.
Erotic.
That was at the end.
Okay.
That was at the end.
So they have these marauders, and they have an ATST at their disposal.
Do you have a womb DeLorean?
These marauders have an ATST.
Yes.
Where'd they get it from?
So the Empire probably was at that planet. And you know, the Empire, like they are, they leave stuff behind. Sometimes stuff gets left behind. They get wiped out. There you go.
Okay, so they have this.
Someone left the keys in it.
They lure it into this deep pond.
Well, they decide to dig this ditch. And everybody knows, like, Ewoks took down ATSTs.
Ewoks. Carnivores.
Yeah, they could figure this out.
Cannibals of their own species.
They could dig up this.
Knock it out with a couple of logs and rocks.
Yeah, they got this. You can dig a ditch.
So Mandalorian finally lures it. Well, actually, she lures it.
She was shooting it up with a disintegrator. Yeah. But I like the fact that it looked like a Tyrannosaurus Rex type thing.
It was good.
That was good.
There was a good scene. It was a tense scene. It's like, is she going to lure it? Like, we needed it to step just one step further.
With Howard directing it, I would expect the woman to be running in high heel shoes from it. You know,
like Jurassic World. Yes, it was a very good scene, and it was like kept trembling on the end, and finally it stepped forward just enough, and the ATST falls into the water. Obviously, the Mandalorian and the village wins, and the female widow is okay, and she wants to take off his helmet and kiss him, but he doesn't allow her. We're like, oh my God, she feels take off the helmet, and she doesn't.
And then you hear a gunshot. And you assume that Baby Yoda's been killed.
And then, yeah, the other fob carrier.
He showed up. And
he shows up. He's going to take out Baby Yoda's. But then Cara Dune shoots him. And she's like, because Mandalorian's like, I'm going to leave him here. The village can raise him. Peace out.
I'm good.
But then he realizes, oh, yeah, that's right. Like, the whole world has fobs.
So is he... I've got to kill all these fob carriers.
Everybody has a fob.
Everybody. What is he gonna do now? Like,
I don't know. Is it gonna be? This is my thing. So we're 4 episodes in.
Yes.
This is the first episode that was like contained into itself. It's like this is a Magnificent Seven episode.
Yeah.
But then the overall theme was like the people are hunting Baby Yodas. So we're going to go from planet to planet. Like he's going to run. Okay, we're going to land on another planet next episode. What's the story going to be on it? We're going to do that for a couple episodes. And then the overarching theme of they're hunting Baby Yodas, the client. But the client was only mentioned in IMDb for 2 episodes. Those are gone. We've been in 2 episodes. So I don't know what's going to happen. We're going to have to see what's his name? Carlos Esposito?
Yeah. Gus.
He's going to show up some point in episode 1. We still have yet to see Bill Burr.
Yeah. That's the only reason I'm watching
That's the only reason I'm watching the show. So hopefully they'll show up. It's going to be really good. I hope that the end of the show is, the end of the season is he delivers Baby Yoda to Mama and Daddy Yoda.
He's going to deliver Baby Yoda to the person who is out to get him in the first place, which will be revealed as none other than Luke Skywalker.
Emperor Palpatine.
Luke Skywalker. He has cloned Baby Yoda. Season 2. And he's like, what do you need it? Well, I need a Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
That's what, I don't know.
That was episodes 3 and 4. All right. Well, that's our interpretation.
It might be incorrect.
It's pretty terrible.
Don't quote me on it.
But we like talking about it.
But I want to see, Bill Burr, because he hates Star Wars.
I want to see him gather up his team.
And do what?
We're collecting a team.
I want to see IG-11 come back.
I want to see whatever Nick Nolte's character was, Gina Carano's character.
Not.
Bill Burr's character. I liked IG-11. He brain shot him. Maybe he'll come back and forgive him.
He's got a USB somewhere. They can upload
we're all good, bro.
IG-12.
And so then he has his team, and then they go on further adventures.
I think that it's going to end up being Bill Burr, the Mandalorian, and eventually they're going to get Grief on board, and it's going to be like 3 men and a Baby Yoda. It's just going to be misadventures of the second season of them raising. Who's going to change Baby Yoda?
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode.
Best episode ever.
I'm Gabby.
This is Jerry.
We'll talk to you later.